Hi there, I am Elliot Mitchell and welcome to the Group 7 presentation. So getting straight into it, we've spent the last few weeks analysing the hypothesis of young adults from 18 to 25, sleep duration and quality are improved by regular exercise. And it's very simple, our two variables are hours of exercise per week on the x-axis and hours sleep per night on the y-axis. And you will see this in a graph later on in the presentation. Our aim was to see whether there was any positive or negative correlation between these two variables in young adults from 18 to 25. And now I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper in terms of analysis. When discussing our questionnaire design, we thought it would be the best to mix qualitative and quantitative questions to the best evaluate our subject matter. You can see on the slide how the questions are divided up. We did our research on a number of questionnaires on similar subjects and how effective we found them to be. And as a group, this was the design that we felt offered us the most out of our research. In terms of our rationale behind our questionnaire, had we been able to have more time to go into depth, you will have seen several more graphs throughout our presentation. However, with our limited time frame, we have chosen to discuss the main graph, which has question 1 on the y-axis and question 2 on the x-axis. Our target with this, as discussed in our hypothesis, was to find a positive correlation between the quality and the quantity of sleep and exercise. So we retrieved over 100 responses to our survey, but were limited to only viewing 40 responses, sadly by a paywall. Despite this though, we managed to retrieve some really significant information from these responses. All of the people from the ages of 18 to 25, which made an appropriate sample for us that corresponded with our hypothesis. In reflection of this, in a professional setting, the changes that we would make in the future would be able to pay a service in order to access greater number of responses, which would lead us to clearer displays of our findings. Moving on to slide 6, we placed our data onto this scatter graph, which a line that corresponded with the data to clearly display our results. At a glance, we can see the results aren't exactly what we're expecting, as the amount of exercise is relatively unaffected by the amount of sleep they get. As expected, the hours of exercise vary greatly, whereas the hours of sleep is fairly centralised around 6 to 9 hours a night. And just to add on this, alongside, we've actually put the anomalies of our hypothesis and our data in red dots, as you can see further down, that we've incorporated into our graph. The general census suggests that the students and people 18 to 25 do not require the average number of hours sleep to still get sufficient exercise in per week. In fact, our scatter graph shows the number of 18 to 25-year-olds that could get 7 to 9 hours of exercise in on just an average of 0 to 3 hours of sleep. Our qualitative questions showed us that the majority of young people did agree that the exercise improved sleep and an ease of falling to sleep. Our quantitative analysis, however, shows us that the young people are not as affected by exercise, so more habitual behaviour could be due to a less structured day-to-day activity, which might periodically at the moment is a result of lockdown and the global pandemic. So the trend line does not fully support our hypothesis, as there is a weak positive correlation with the trend line very steadily going upwards. However, this is not a conclusive result. In the current circumstances, students appear to have a sporadic sleeping and exercise pattern. To conclude in this, I think it is important to say that the students in general will be able to function on a limited hours of sleep, but it is interestingly to notice that our data shows a high level of exercise per week, in addition to the lack of sleep. Thank you very much, and this has been our Group 7 presentation.